Welcome to Lunaticks Live. As you see from our intro that we are not Lisa Wu and we're not Greg Hall. We've actually had two sick people, so we've actually changed. So it's me, Gordon Whitehead, Society President of the Lunatics, and Olivia Ollie.
Yes, Olivia Ollie, producer for the production company Good Idea.
So tonight our subject is about online entertainment, and we've got a great lineup. We've got Ted Bathenswaite, who will come on first, who from Surfest, and they're doing some really good stuff from Merriweather at the moment. Then we've got Josh Mason from Bar TV, and finally we'll go to Tristan Bambor, which I think I've got your name right, have I? Bomber, sorry. So as you see, we're substitutes, we're late call-in, so there's going to be a few mistakes, so because we've been looking at doing the scripts. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you to Folkham Brewhouse for letting us use this venue, and we just rolled their basically ad. And what I wanted to do is let Olivia just have a little bit of introduction to herself. Some people may know who I am, but Olivia, and also I think you've actually got an award you won over the last few months.
Yes, we were lucky enough to win 3 national awards in January via the Australian Video Producers Association. One was for something that I think is quite fitting to this night, and it was for best on. Oh, hello. One of the awards was for best online commercial, 2015. Yeah. So do you want to? So
what we're going to do is we are going to ask Rod to actually roll that to see the ad that Olivia won.
Do you remember when you could be anyone or anything? Do you remember that feeling of freedom when you loved not knowing what was around the corner? When simple pleasures held a sense of wonder and magic filled the air? Remember when you lived in the moment and each day was one big adventure? Those small moments meant so much, and life was something like a dream. Relive those memories and play today.
So that's an example of a YouTube commercial, and the reason why I wanted to show that tonight to introduce myself is often we'll get approached to do TV commercials. So we do commercials for Mitsubishi Electric or Salvation Army. But what we loved about that idea was it was a smaller brand, but they really wanted to show what it felt like to go camping. And we loved that that was specific for a YouTube audience, and so you can capture imagination. Because the biggest thing with marketing is how do you keep those YouTube ads staying and the users staying until the end of that. So I'd just like to say thanks to Coffs Coast for allowing us to really play with the concept of what it means to go camping.
Well, since the last episode in November, we've actually had quite a bit of news that's been rolling in from our local town. So one of the big ones recently was Vimoc Technologies. Now, Vimoc Technologies we've known as a society for about 4 to 5 years. We've worked with them on a number of projects, but one of their projects was about smart cities. So we helped them set up a project in Derby Street that's been working. It's there, ready to roll or expand throughout the city. But what they've done, they've gone over to the United States. And now they've got 18 cities are using their smart city platform. And they've just secured 2 weeks ago $2.4 million in the first round of venture capital raising. So they're getting the support, and that's what for me, is one of the big things about supporting the technology and the creative side of Newcastle. There's some really great companies that you don't hear about. Another one is Newism. Newism is a company that's we know from the Lunatics for a long time. They're very supportive. But previously they won Webby Awards. Well, recently, not only did they win the Newey Awards, which is one of the top honours you can get, stop laughing, is that they won the UXC Award, which is an Australian Web Award. So on a national scale, they've been getting recognition. So, and tonight's about this. So before we introduced our first guest, we're about online entertainment. We're about the creative side, but we also want to look at the business side. So this is all what we're trying to experiment. And tonight we've got three very different organisations, and we've a lot of talent. So what we'd like to do is call Ted Bassingthwaite from Surfest. Now come over here. We've only got 2 mics, so we'll be sharing with this. Now Ted is pretty busy at the moment, and before I hand over, he's been working long days and nights with the Surfest, because it's on at the moment for those people who are living in the dark room. Now, but one of the things is, and what's not really reported, is the live streaming of the event. So now I'm going to hand you the mic, and we're going to hang on to this one. So we'll be punching each other to ask questions. But before we start punching each other, can you just explain what you do in Surfest, what type of coverage you provide, and a bit about the history around Surfest, and also when did you start streaming and when you thought it was actually getting there?
Thank you very much, Colin. Thanks to the Lunaticks Society for the invite. And I wanted to thank you belatedly for our award at the Newey Awards that was a couple of months ago, I think. Kind of felt like the start of Surfest for us, that the Newey Awards, and we really do appreciate that. It doesn't happen very often, and thank you for that. With the Surfest live streaming, it has really taken off in the last 5 years. And it's taken off in a big way in conjunction with what's happening on the World Surfing Tour, and in conjunction, I imagine, with the technology and the availability of mobile devices, and the digital world has improved markedly in that time. We've always tried to do some sort of coverage for a long time. NBN 180 are our supply us with the technology now to do our live feed, and NBN TV in the past have always shown Surfest in some way. Before digital, I think they just streamed it through the TV station or whatever, made news posts out of it. But in the last 3 or 4 years, it's taken off exponentially, and we don't know how far that will go. Last year, we had 3 million hits on our page on the last Sunday, our webpage. We streamed internationally all around the world through NBN 180 and through the WSL. We try and stream through surfest.com, which is our website, and then the WSL have their own live view, but they're very generous to us. So you click on the WSL on our event, you actually go to surfest.com, which pushes all the traffic to us, which we really like. It helps with our sponsors. Last 2 years we've streamed, or it's been shown through Hawaii into America with Time Warner, and that's been a pretty big thing for us, into pay TV in America. It's not really our audience in Central America, but they love it, and it's improving. And it goes to every country in the world, if not through surfest.com, through the WSL, but it's a local NBN 180 that provide the service for all that coverage. And yeah, it's just going crazy.
Ted, can you tell us what was the impetus for creating streaming for Surfest?
It kind of goes with the territory with the sport. Surfing as a professional sport's been around for a long time. Australians dominate surfing. If you look at the top 50 surfers in the world, no other sport has 30 of them are Australians in the top 50, and in the women it's probably even more. So surfing competitive surfing is really taken off around the world, and I think audiences, with the availability of the technology, audiences are demanding it. Really, I know most of our social media now is viewed on a mobile device. 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. I think that's probably the same in all other areas of the digital world and streaming. It's all mobiles now. But that's really important for us because it makes us, there's people at work not looking at it on their laptops and getting caught by the boss. They've got their phone on their lap and looking at it, or going to the toilet and watching us, which we really like. So I think it's the technology and the nature of the sport. You can't beat it, really, if you're a surfer. If you're not a surfer, I'm sure people still like it. Like to see big waves and guys getting smashed. And female surfers have, in the last 5 years, in terms of the level of their competitive ability and the level of entertainment that they provide, it's gone through the roof as well. So there's a lot of things happening in the sport itself. Organisationally, as a professional sport, it's been taken over by a thing called the World Surf League. That's a couple of big businessmen that have put a proper business model to it. So it's just kind of professionalised through all levels, and we need to keep up with that. If we didn't live stream, our event would probably die.
And the numbers, I think we're getting a little bit of feedback, Rod, so I'm a little bit louder. You said 3 million views.
Yes.
Now, what's the breakdown on countries?
I think it's last count when I did the analytics, it's about 142 countries. The big countries for us are Brazil, probably our biggest, surprisingly, followed by America, and then Europe collectively, and then South Africa, then Asia. But yeah, it's about 142 countries, I think, was the analytics from last year's figures.
Can you talk a little bit further about if it wasn't for streaming, Surffest may die? I think that's a really interesting angle.
Surffest, the festival, is not just the 2 professional contests that are happening this week. Surffest is actually 13 contests over 3 local government areas, involving kids from the age of 10 through to men in their 60s, riding longboards and stand-up paddleboards. So the Surffest festival itself would probably survive, but in terms of attracting big dollar sponsorship, in particular government money, Destinations New South Wales in particular, we would lose that, and we would become a local event more so. So the festival would survive, but we would lose the impetus if we didn't have an emerging and an improving live stream through Surfest. If that didn't happen every year, they just wouldn't be attracted to us.
So did you do you stream all the events? So
no, we do live scores for the Pro Junior. Pro Junior is 18 years and under, and because that's a World Surf League event, so we do live scores on the first weekend, and from this Monday just gone, we stream both events live. That's this one, the Maitland Port Stephens Toyota Pro, and the Taggart Women's, which is interesting because this year we did something that no one else in the world's done. We actually crowdfunded the money for that. We've got 73 businesses in Newcastle who would give us some money, and we picked one of them as the sponsor, which is worth a lot of money to be the sole sponsor, and they all love that experience, and no one else has done that in the world, and we've got a 6-star world-class professional surfing event.
Okay, how do you monitor? Is the model around it, is it just a value add to your sponsorship money, or do you actually do particular ads during, someone getting attacked by a shark,
We don't talk about aquatic marine creatures, as we call them. If you say shark, people shit themselves. we don't say shark, but no, we do. We do. There is advertising, but it's all in kind for the sponsors, and it's gives back to the sponsors. There's no revenue source from sponsorship to us from the event, which is something that you might have to look at in the past. But everything we do, particularly the image that we create and the product that we bring to the rest of the country and the world, is all about Newcastle, promoting Newcastle, and by default promoting New South Wales, and obviously then through our major sponsor in government, it flows on to the economic effects of that, of bringing so many people. We bring there's nearly 200 international surfers. That includes Australians. So there's about 140 international men and about 30 international women that come here for the 2 weeks. And then with all those other fringe events, we get our local visitors. We get a hell of a lot of people coming to Newcastle and seeing Newcastle. It gives us an opportunity to promote Newcastle and New South Wales, and obviously that flows on to that sponsorship.
You were telling me earlier that it's broadcast through NBN online, but it's also distributed through Time Warner in the US. Can you talk about how you brokered such deals with those companies?
I have to be careful what I say, because not that there's a secret, because I don't know the full facts behind that. I do know that it was an arrangement that came to us through the World Surfing League, their connections, because they're an international sporting body, and the approach was made, and then it became an issue of finance. Like, it was quite an expensive thing for us to do, and then we managed to broker last year, I think, or the year before, an arrangement where they did it, and it wasn't a great cost to us. And I think that arrangement still arises, and because of the World Surfing League's become so popular and such a must-see event all around the world, it was easy for them to come back for us this year to do it. So it's not a great cost for us. To tell you the truth, I don't really know the behind-the-scenes financials about that.
That's okay. I guess I was interested because it's a Newcastle event getting such great international recognition, and I think what we're trying to achieve here with this discussion is learning how we can take content further and to reach larger audiences.
That's an interesting question in the context of what we are. We're a sporting event. When it's finished, it's finished. What's the side effect? How many people come to Newcastle having seen Surfest on TV and say, that looks like a great place, I'll come and visit? I'm sure there are people that do that, but again, with the exchange rate and the dollar, someone living in America might think it's probably not a good thing to come here, and it's too expensive or whatever. And we don't know what the effect of that is, and it's not in our purview to. Our business model is not about extending the life of Surfest any longer than what we do. Like I say, and I imagine it's the same with any big sporting event. The guys at Bar TV will probably tell you that it's once it's on, you want to maximise exposure, you want to maximise eyes on your event and the return for your sponsors. If we were to have it go longer and have a wider impact, I can't see how we could do that in the context of what we are, which is an international sporting event that goes for 2 weeks, just like the Aussie Open, you know.
Sorry, I'm at home chair. Now, I'm interested in during the day. You've had a long day today.
Yeah.
Is it just pure, 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning? Find the beach with the big waves, take the crew and set up, get the commentators, everyone in the water, or do you also promote some of the other fun aspects of like the hunter, and by producing other content between different races? And does anyone else contribute that? So when we're talking about the wineries, is there some form of curating of other content as well into the event?
I do all the social media. So Surfest is really strong on Instagram and Facebook, and Twitter is more for our news and keeping the media on side. For example, with the crowdfunding, we've got 63 it is, out of 73 sold, 63 sponsors who are all part of Surfest, and they give $1,500, and what do we give them back? So we try and accommodate them through social media, and they reciprocate through their social media platforms. So there's that reciprocal thing with them, but we don't necessarily. There's not a lot that we can give back other than that kind of quick exposure through the 2 weeks, and that's a missed opportunity. I think what you're saying, we don't have. It seems like it's that there's no longevity to it in terms of economics or organisation.
Keep forgetting to turn it on. I'm sticking it on mute. No, you can say the one who won it, or I don't want you to reel off the 60 odd that was in the crowdfunding. Well, I'm sure you want to.
Yeah.
I don't think we have enough time. But whenever you want to say the one who won.
Yeah, there's the Taggart Business Advisors, which is really cool for us because Ross Taggart from Taggart Business Advisors, they're over in Hamilton. He grew up swimming at Merriweather Bars with Warren Smith, the surface organiser. And it's one of those newy moments, you know, when you go somewhere, you're on a plane and you're on a train in Sweden and you say g'day to someone and say, oh, g'day, where are you from? I'm from Wallsend. Oh, I'm from Adamstown. You know, that kind of thing happens. So it happens all the time. And so that was a real newy moment for us, and we love that. But that could have happened with, you know, like, for instance, we had a sponsors, the sponsors all got together at a breakfast and we drew the winner out. And then we had a big sponsors cocktail party last night where each of the sponsors were drawn with one of the 72 women surfers. So if their surfer wins it, for instance, I think the Blue Door Cafe, who's one of our sponsors at Merriweather Beach, they've drawn the top seed Sally Fitzgibbons. If Sally wins the event, Blue Door get $8,000. Whoever comes second gets $6,000 or $4,000, and whoever comes equal third get $1,500 back. So we're giving back to the sponsors in a sense that they're in this kind of Calcutta arrangement or punting arrangement that hopefully they'll get the winning surfer.
So if Pete wins from Blue Door, so he's going to shout everyone a coffee at
Merriweather. Blue Door, exactly right. You know, and at the Junction Fair got second. They got Stephanie Gilmore. So, you know, there's a likelihood. Well, four of the sponsors are going to get their money back plus some.
So, over the last few years, what's been the biggest hurdle for the live streaming? Is it been technical, or is it just trying to learn the actual process?
Well, the NBN 180 is so professional. There's no. You can't say anything more about them. They come, they do it, they set up. We've always had issues with bandwidth at Merriweather. Telstra are a big partner with ours, and they've really helped us a lot in that the last 2 or 3 years. So that hasn't really been a problem. It's more about the place and the time. It's the weather. I don't know if you remember when we surfed in Newcastle Harbour a couple of years ago, like that. People around the world were scratching their heads. How did you do that? You know, it was a hurricane, and we're standing on the harbour streaming live this international surfing event. The surfers still come to Newcastle and say, "Oh, well, that was the best surf I've ever had. It's the scariest and most dangerous surf because you could die there." But they loved it. It was unreal. So we've got the capacity and the technology and the commitment and the people and the know-how to do that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you want to get bigger, you've got to spend more money and have a better setup and all sorts of technical kind of advantages that we don't have now. But I think we pull it off pretty well in the context of what we do and for the amount of the cost of it, you know, and the spread of it. So yeah, we're pretty proud of what we do.
What's the future goals for Surffest?
There's a thing in the World Surfing League. There's the World Championship Tour, which is there's 10 events around the world, and they surf all of the amazing places like Chaupu in Tahiti and these amazing scary waves in Fiji and all that sort of stuff. So there's 10 of those events. So that's the World Championship Tour. Below that is what they call a 10,000 event. We're a 6,000 event, and it's all about prize money and points. There's very few 10,000 events. Our goal is to become a 10,000 event. So in essence, we'll be one tier below a World Championship Tour. In terms of what money you need to commit to a 10,000 event and a World Championship Tour, it's millions. There's a difference in millions of dollars. But our goal is to achieve that 10,000 event. There's no other 10,000 event in Australia at the moment. And it would give it, if we pull it off, it would certainly give us the impetus then to, in the future, seriously contemplate having a World Championship Tour event in Newcastle. Merriweather Beach is suitable for that. Merriweather Beach is a world-class wave. When it's on, it's really on. Come down on Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be as big as hell, and there's going to be a lot of broken boards and a lot of scared surfers. So we could do that, but it's about the financial commitment of sponsors, and it's about the capacity of our little organisation to have the manpower and the wherewithal to do it. But yeah, that's our goal, a 10,000, and then see what happens after that.
I'll get this sorted out sometime. Okay, thanks for your time. It's been very much appreciated. Ted, I know you want to get back to your bed ready for tomorrow. We're just going to get Rod to actually fire up a little video from Surffest, And what I'll do is, before he fires it up, I'll call on Josh to hobble down here for our next interview. But thanks, Ted.
Don't miss Sally Fitzgibbon, Stephanie Gilmore, Don't miss Sally Fitzgibbon, Stephanie Gilmore, Alana Blanchard and Philippa Anderson in the 6-star Take It Women's Pro. Then see Julian Wilson, Adrian Barkin, Jack Freestone, Sebastian Seitz and Ryan Callanan battle for the prestigious Mark Richards Trophy in the 6-star Maitland and Port Stephens Toyota Pro. Watch all the action and enjoy the Beats and Barrels Festival of Music at Surffest from February 22nd to 28th. Who will be crowned Surffest champion in 2016? Visit surffest.com.
Oh, we're back. Amazing enough. Hi, Josh. This is Josh Mason from Bar TV. He's our next guest. And just before we start having a few questions, we're just going to say Foghorn Brewhouse. And if you want to go to the bar, this is our live audience. This is not to the actual, that one person who's watching online. Hi, Mum. But yes, so please go to the bar, order a pizza, and we'll have a chat to Josh. Josh is from Bar TV. He's suffering a little bit of injury at the moment. He's hobbled across. He's had a little bit of operation. Luckily, it's not due to your age, is it?
There's probably a portion due to my age, but my ego won't allow that to come through too much. This is why I should film more sport and not play it. I mean, I'm not playing for the Knights this year. Brownie's not going to pick me up, so I'm done.
So what we'll do is just, for those people online and in the audience, gives a little bit of an overview of Bar TV, where you've come from. These one of my favourite stories of a local startup, because Josh and all his mates were on tools and had a brilliant idea and figured out how to do it. Ended up in pubs. And then decided what we could do is about sport. So can you briefly go through the old Bar TV story?
Yeah, so it's a long story, but I'll shorten it down a touch. So many years ago, actually, it started with trivia at a point about 12 years ago. We did some SMS trivia-based game, which we ran at the Beaches Hotel. No broadband, PowerPoint presentation, that type of stuff. Had some fun. Decided I need to go back to building because that wasn't going to pay the rent at the time. So grabbed the hammer, the nail bag, back on the tools. From there, the whole technology and that side of the business, it never left me. We couldn't shake it. Me, Mark, and Brendan, we really couldn't. It didn't get out of our blood. Then Bar TV Sports sort of came around, or Bar TV, and we always had this idea of joining. We still ran trivia in pubs and clubs, and we had this idea of we really need to be piping content, local content, onto the screens, because we'd sit there and we'd watch some crappy darts comp from the other side of the world, and I'd think I have no connection to that at all, and it's on the biggest TV I've ever seen, and we've got all this cool stuff happening just down the road. Why can't I watch it? Sure, there's the news, but if they've only got half an hour or an hour, so, and for the sports, we're talking like 5 minutes. So we just thought, what could we do? How could we get around this? And so our idea was to build, I guess, a delivery system first. Let's work out and build a way, or get some smart guys to build a way for us to deliver content into pubs, and then we'll work out what we deliver. So we knew trivia, so let's start putting questions on screens and getting them to interact with their phones. And then we thought, well, I reckon we should put sport. The local footy gets filmed, which we knew to a degree for judiciary purposes. People hurt themselves playing contact sport. They film them to take stuff out like that we enjoy. The odd stiff arm, spear tackle, all the cool stuff that we can't do anymore. They have to film it to stop those guys. And we got our hands on some DVDs. We worked out how to edit from a DVD and then put it up into a cloud and then send it to a pub. And we sat in a pub in Curry one night, the Station Hotel, and we watched the Curry Bulldogs v Wests on the TV on about a 24-hour delay. And the boys from the local team, the first grade squad, came back, had beers, and we sort of just sat in the background. And I kept walking back out to the car thinking, shit, is it going to work? You know, like I've set it to kick off at 6 o'clock. You know, oh my God. And then, yeah, it started. Oh, beauty. It could have been clearer, you know, like how do we make all those things work better? But that's where it started. So that was about 5 years ago then, or probably 4 or 5 years ago. And then we thought we can film it better. So we decided to buy some kit, teach ourselves how to film. Got to that stage, so then we thought, okay, that's pretty cool, still doing it delayed. Then the live thing came up and we went, hey, let's buy a bit more kit. Surely we can do this. And kept getting told all the time by broadcast people that you can't do it. You can't film a game of footy with 1 or 2 cameras. They won't watch it. And we kept thinking, no. Yeah, they're already engaged. They're already watching it. You know, we just need to put it in front of them. And you think they're going to not rather watch a football team from down the road as opposed to, again, darts or table tennis or some other crap on the TV. And really, I mean, it sounds terrible, but our crap is better than that crap. So, and we can produce it. So it sounds that's a terrible way to describe it, but it's sort of true. It sort of makes sense, you know, and we just kept battling down. And then now we got to this stage where we're producing huge amounts of content in terms of volume. I think last winter we did upwards of 900 sporting matches just through winter. Just an unbelievable amount. Pubs, we realise people are still watching in the pubs, but they're also watching online on their phones. Same thing as what Ted said, you know. They go and watch the highlights on the can at work or whatever and get engaged, you know, because it's engaging content. And they're our friends and they're our relatives or the guy we went to school with or the girl we went to school with that are playing the game. So we're already connected with them. And social media is all about that, and I want to know what she does and what he does while I scroll through my Facebook page. So let's give them some fodder to talk about, and we'll drive them through sport. And now we're here, and we've been lucky enough to take a Newey Award away as well, too, actually, and it was fantastic.
It's helped us out. Award.
It was the best award. It's helped us massively. I actually, unfortunately, the night that we won it, I was sitting behind a production desk in Pertex Stadium streaming a rugby game in Parramatta. And but that's what you have to do. You know, we've got to grind it out.
So one of the big things I'm learning from Ted and yourself that at the moment doing a bit of work for Cessnock Leagues Club, and I plug for them, yes. So, you know, and our CEO, Paul, as you know, loves
Great
big
guy.
screens. So
yes.
We should be sticking a lot more screens in the can.
I did say, you
is that what
maybe.
you're trying to say is that when we talk about time in a particular area of the club, we haven't looked at the toilet area. But anyway, other than that, so what's your reach? So you've covered rugby league, and I know that you've done a lot of other sports in around Newcastle and the Hunter area. So I know that it's not just Hunter. So where have you taken this?
Well, we've taken it basically to every single state around Australia in terms of production. And so, like you said, we started with rugby league in Newcastle, doing 4 games on a weekend, and that grew to covering the entire competition, of rugby union here, AFL, soccer. Illawarra was next for us, which was a bit of a weird one. We sort of jumped Sydney, and it was half conscious and half not, because we knew that the market was Sydney, but we really didn't want to get chewed up too quick. So Illawarra, another steel city, pretty similar to what we do, you know, and they got us and they really saw what we did, and so we went there and we did the same thing, and then some of the big guys came around and said, "Hey, you little streaming fellas from Newcastle, do you think you could do some of our sports?" And they were the likes of Fox Sports and the really big players in sport, in sport broadcasting. And we said, yeah, sure. We can show you guys how to broadcast online. No worries. We'll show you how to do it for about a tenth of the cost of how much you spend now. But no, joking. But they and then from there, so then there was a point in I think it was around like October last year, where on a Tuesday night, random Tuesday night, we had a crew in Darwin, Adelaide, Melbourne and Perth. And it was sort of that, like, holy hell, this is crazy, you know, and these were games, this is FFA Cup stuff that's being watched all around the world. So not just here, everywhere. And it was crazy to think that we were the guys pumping it out.
I love Bar TV. I think it's such a brilliant idea, and I met you a couple of years ago, and I just remember thinking, what a genius idea. So tell us a little bit about how that kind of startup moment began. Like, were you literally knocking on pubs' doors?
Totally, yeah, we were, for sure. And it was, we were knocking on everyone's door, you know, and it was like that. So like I said, we sort of built the system, and with our trivia business, and Mark's a huge part of that, been running trivia for 20 plus years around here, and all the big pubs we were looking after, and it was, so we knew we could, you know, have a few favours, like, guys, let us come in and set up out the back and dial into all your TVs and make it work. And then it was then knocking on the Newcastle Rugby League's door saying, please, we're called Bar TV. I know you haven't heard of us because we just made the name up, you know, a few weeks ago. But we want to take your footage and we want to show it to people in pubs. They thought it was weird, actually. They didn't believe us, I don't think, at first.
So what's your business model? Like, are you getting paid advertising on there? Are the bars paying a particular amount? And also opposed to the bars, how are you financing the online version of Bar TV? So
it's been a very organic sort of growth plan, to be honest. It's changed a lot over the time. So we make revenue a couple of ways. We make a small percentage from production, so we can keep production really low, and in a sense compete with anyone else out there that thinks they can produce stuff. So we can be the guys that can do it well. Then the pubs were paying a subscription fee. Now it's sort of free because it's all about eyeballs and getting as many people involved as possible. So now it's about the advertising model and migrating advertisers, which we know from the big end of town media, you know, whether it's press, paper, or the broadcasters, the advertisers are right in this middle, and they are migrating, they're shifting to the sides, but all of their money's still pretty much tied up with the big guys. And it's not going to take too long until they just go, we're out. So we needed to obviously get a lot of statistics behind us to show that people watch us, how long they watch us for, where they live, where they are, and not dig too deep, because we're pretty conscious of that stuff as well. You know, we don't want to be ad heavy, and so it was just a really combined approach, you know, and we had to take that. We can do cool things like pay-per-view, and we could charge a subscription fee to be a part of Bar TV, but we haven't gone down that path, and we just think, you know, I'm not saying that we never will, but I think it would take really, really high, like premium content that is just, you can't get anywhere else for us to want to have that model. Because I look at everyone else that's done that, and it just doesn't work. I mean, you look at Netflix, it works for sure for those guys, but they pile tons of money into that thing to make it work. You know, I mean, we all look and think, how massive is that? But that is a furnace that they just shove dollar bills into to try and serve up that much content around the world. But in a similar sense, that the market is only so big. Once you've got it, then I guess you can start to tweak it to make some revenue out of it. Well, that's what we hope anyway, I guess.
Because at the moment you've got things like Netflix shown away on, on one side. You've got the NBN,
yep,
which hopefully will come along sometime. Not to my house at the moment. They're 2 weeks behind on their appointment. I don't want to complain.
10 years behind on mine.
So, and we've got some media laws that are currently going to change. So those media laws and those little things, how do you see your industry changing? Because your local content is not, there's not too many people in that space.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we sort of positioned ourselves to be what we sort of say now is a tier 2, tier 3 sports, and tier 1 being NRL, A-League, Super Rugby, that type of stuff, the top end. So we see ourselves as tier 2, tier 3, and really no one had commercialised it. No one has, apart from how they used to 50 years ago by selling a program at the gate and charging you $5 to get in. So that was the level of commercialisation. Of course, they do some advertising around the ground, and which you need to do, the basic sporting things, and sell logos on their shirts and all that. But really coming in and saying, we think we can produce it to a cost-effective manner and to a much larger audience than you think you have. You know, the 200 people that come to watch, I'll have 1,500 people watching it. So it's not huge, but it's a massive increase on what's there now. And now that's sort of opened up. There's that tier 2, tier 3. We could even go further down, you know, where we go right down tier 5. But now this reach rule, which the broadcasters talk about, and the reach rule is one of them, but also the anti-siphoning. So the sport has to be shown on free-to-air TV, or certain sports are on this list, and they have to be taken by a large broadcaster or shown, and that's why Fox can't buy them and get involved in all that. That'll be abolished, no doubt, pretty soon, or a lot of them will. I am a huge sport lover, obviously, and I think certain things, like at the moment we're playing cricket against the Kiwis, and I can't watch it on the telly if I don't have Fox. It's mental, you know. That's insane that I can't watch that, and I can't stream it on ABC. But I can get a free app to stream it, so that's okay. You know, I can get around it, but it's so I think I see us moving into this area of really getting in there and tussling it for some rights, you know, and saying, well, how much is it worth to buy the rights to this tier 1-ish sport that you're running, you know?
Yeah, because I know that you had a few tussles with Fox Sports, especially which I was really waiting online for the trial games of the Super 15. But they never went ahead. What happened? And what was the Fox Sport Murdoch's involvement?
Mr. Murdoch. I know one day he will pick me up in his helicopter, I'm sure. But no, at the time, yeah, we got contracted by the Waratahs to do a trial match. This was last season, so the start of the 2015 season. And they said, come in, we're playing the Highlanders, which is the Kiwi side who ran second the year before, and we're playing at Blacktown Sports Ground. Come out, Campbelltown Sports Ground, come and stream our game. We said, you beauty, yes we will. We did a fantastic job of syndicating it everywhere. So we distributed that embed and link everywhere. So New Zealand papers, the Fairfax Rags picked it up in Sydney, Sydney Morning Herald ran it. Of course, Murdoch and those guys don't really see eye to eye on certain things. They own the rights to Super Rugby, along with Sansa, and we're set up, and literally half an hour before the ball gets kicked.
I was waiting.
Yeah, half an hour, the phone rings, don't do it. Who is this? This is Fox, basically. This is Mr. Murdoch, not him himself. But yeah, don't do it. We'd advise you don't stream this match. And we pushed back a little bit, and it went back and forth, and Sansa said the same thing. No, you don't have the rights. And we said, well, the Waratahs were backing us, saying, well, you're not here to broadcast. There's no cameras here. Isn't it our team? And it really started to bring up this argument of who owns what. You know, are they our football players on the pitch wearing our jerseys, playing for us, or who are we really playing for? And if it's not being broadcast, then I think it's fair game. You know, we would never, you know, we're not there to agitate everyone and go along to a Knights game that's going to be on NBN and try and set up cameras. We know it's completely legit. It's awesome. They've done a great job of getting the rights to it. Fantastic. But if you're not going to show it, then surely there's no issue around letting someone else do it. And we said, look, give us an ad. Quickly send me an ad. I'll run Fox Sports ads for you. That wasn't good enough. So we basically produced what we think, maybe to this day, possibly the best game we've ever done. And no one's ever seen it. So we streamed it, we did it, and we just streamed it to a dead link in the sky. We've still got it, but yeah, it never went anywhere.
it could be priceless soon. Anyway, I was just that missing reel. Anyway, I want to say thanks, Josh. I need you. Now you're going to hobble off, but thanks. Your inspiration's what I think, but you're doing some really good stuff in there. So thanks for appearing. Thanks for your stories.
Cheers.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to call up Tristan, and I'll let Olivia actually introduce him. But I just want to, before I hand over the mic, because I usually do hog the mic, I want to just promote, again, Foghorn for those people. There's no one at the bar, so some of you must go over to the bar and buy some beers in the audience. And those online, we do have an audience. It's not canned laughter. Second of all, what I want to do is push the New Awards. We've had some winners of the New Awards in 2015. 2016, we're just going to get bigger. Last year, we had 70 entries over 15 categories. This year, we're introducing 5 new categories in green tech and smart cities. But also, we got 3 international awards. So traditionally, we award regional Australian companies in the creative digital sense, but now we're going to actually go overseas. And one of the things like Surfest, we found out that we did have a lot of people, in fact 50% of the people, more interested overseas than locals. So we're going to try and push it. So I'm going to let Olivia to introduce Tristan.
Hello, Tristan.
Hello.
A bit of background about Tristan Bambor is did I say your name wrong?
You got it.
Now.
Yep.
Bit of background about Tristan. Tristan's a writer and a director of comedy specifically, and I was at the Screen Producers Association last year, and I was sitting in the audience, and ABC Comedy, head of ABC Comedy, was talking, and out of nowhere he said, "Now I have to tell a story about a guy from Newcastle called Tristan." And I was like, "Yes, tell this story. What is it?" And he said that the biggest mistake of his career was doing Tristram's pilot for the ABC and then not following it straight away with a series because it was so well received nationally and internationally.
Yeah.
So well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it would have been nice to get the series, but yeah.
So Tristan, we're here to talk about your online comedy show, The Cleanest. The Cleanest is up to its 2nd season, and
Yeah, we've done two seasons. Yeah, we did one in 2013 and one at the end of 2014. So it's been about a bit over a year since we released a season. But yeah.
So tell us about doing an online series. I think a lot of people think that it's I've got a great idea for a show, let's do a YouTube series and then I'll become really famous and rich. Can you tell us about the process of doing online content?
Well, the becoming famous and rich part, I don't know how to tell you how to do that. If I did, I would already be there. But the process for me was I'd been making short films for quite some time prior to making The Cleanest, and I'd been writing scripts and I'd been working with the ABC for scripts and those sorts of things. But what was difficult was that it is really hard to get something going with a broadcaster. You know, with the ABC, you mentioned Timothy. I was working with them for a very long time, and with Rick Kalowski at the ABC to try and get that up for a really, really long time. And it was slowly inching forward, but in a fraction of that time I was able to put together 10 scripts and shoot The Cleanest and put it out. You know, it just happens so much more quickly. You can just do it yourself, basically. That did involve me finding people who could shoot it, who could do the sound, finding the actors, all that sort of stuff I had to do myself. But yeah, you definitely can do it. All you need is a bit of the background. I guess the hardest thing is really writing scripts and telling stories that people will be at least partially interested in seeing, because that's probably for me the hardest thing. You know, making sure that you can actually deliver with a story and a script that's worth it.
What do you think is required, even though that's a loose term, what do you think an online audience is looking out of content? Like,
Well,
compared to traditional broadcast entertainment. And I guess I ask this very confusing question because if you look at ABC iView and SBS Online, they're saying, give us your ideas for online, but tell us how it's different to TV broadcast. So is there, in your experience, is there a difference?
Well, I think, one of the big differences is there's a lot less money to be in it. So I guess that your audiences are fragmented. So, we've had maybe 30,000, 40,000 views for The Cleanists across different social media. Although it does actually broadcast in the UK as well, so I'm not sure what the figures are on that, but it's also on something a bit like this, a bit like Hunter TV, but in the UK. So we haven't had a very big audience for it. If it was on ABC TV, it would get many more thousands than that. But because it's so fragmented when you're putting something out online, I guess you asked what does an audience look for. I guess the answer to that is everything. There's a little audience for everything. So there's no one answer to that. It's, some people are looking for a comedy web series. Some people are looking for a web series about how to put on your makeup. Well, actually, a lot of people are looking for that. So, there's just everything. You can do anything. Any topic that you think of, there'll be at least a couple of people out there who will probably want to see it. But maybe no more than a couple.
So, one thing I'm very much interested in is especially this change from especially TV content producers and film movie makers have been very professional, organisation. Very few amateur get in there. Now with the internet, everything's changed. Where you can have someone who's just showing how to put makeup on, and getting hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
So how do professionals like yourself look at this change, and is there a real struggle for professionals, and where is the industry going with likes of things like Netflix?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love Netflix personally. I watch it all the time. But and I guess the thing with Netflix is they are a very professional outfit. The production values on their shows are really big and really great, and that's fantastic. So you could call their shows web series, really, if you wanted to, because they are on the web. But in every other way, they match or go higher than the ABC or whatever else we might be watching on our TVs. But when it comes to web series, you've just got anything goes, and people will watch it. They're not so worried about the production values when it comes to a web series. So some of the biggest YouTube channels where they get millions upon millions of views, I watch them and I think, oh, that's just a person pointing a camera at themselves. There's no production values. If we're lucky, they'll have a little lapel mic, but if not, they'll just be talking to a webcam. And millions of people watch it. So, I mean, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's kind of cool that, there's a lot of talk about the democratization of content, and I think that's true. Although, obviously, there are very few people who get millions and millions of views, and lots of people who get, 10, 20 views. But, why not? You've got to be in it to win it.
Well, when we look at the likes of things like Netflix, who's coming in and totally disrupting with TV series and movies, we've had Bar TV on. There seems to be a huge gap missing, and that's quality, local produced content.
Yeah, I agree.
And where does it get curated? Where do you go? Because you've got the likes of pay TV and you've got the free to air. You've got the live streaming platforms that have got the audiences, but they don't seem to be open to organisations or people like yourself. So is there openings, or can you get in there?
Well, I mean, I know a lot of producers who've been wanting to get in with Netflix, for example. they're more likely to get a meeting with Stan, I think, than they are with Netflix. And so far, Netflix hasn't really shown a great amount of interest in producing things outside of the US. They are starting to. They've done a few things here and there. I think they're a fair way off. My feeling is they're a fair way off from doing anything here in Australia. And it makes sense, because if you make something in the US, you can export it everywhere. That already happens. It's already a model for that. So, you make House of Cards, then you just dub it in every different language and put it out there, and people are used to that. But if you make it in Australia, you've got to then try and sell that to the Americans, and they're not used to that. That's probably the biggest thing about it. You've got that huge audience there in the US who really are used to being fed their own material, and so producers, if they're not given another reason to do it, they'll probably just say, well, look, we'll just make it an American thing, because the Australians will watch that anyway, and the English will watch that, and whoever else. And I don't know. I mean, the local content thing has been a question always, I suppose. But when we had, we still do have the dominance of our local networks here in Australia, but they were even more dominant before, and it became very good to have those kind of local content laws, I suppose, where you could say you've got to have a certain percentage that's Australian and produced here and uses Australian talent. But then when you've got things like Netflix, all bets are off on that. I don't know how they would ever try to enforce any kind of local content laws or anything on that. So, yeah, it's an interesting time, I think. Local content, I don't know where things are going with that.
Yeah, I think that's a quite topical discussion at the moment in the industry. I know that ABC is working really hard to encourage local content, and they're working really hard to take online YouTube series and turn them into iView content, such as Skitbox, and I think even the boys from Bondi Hipsters went to iView first. So it is slowly opening up, but I think it looks like what you need to do is just produce a lot of online content off your own back, which is what you're doing. So for budding producers out there, how just to explain a little bit about the process of finding the cash and marketing your product and getting it out to audiences. Yeah, well,
the first series of The Cleanest we shot, I think I spent all my own money on that one, and I probably spent about $500 total. It really didn't cost anything. Everybody worked for free or deferred payment. All the equipment was provided by the people who, the camera guy provided the camera, the sound people brought the sound equipment. The actors worked for free, and I think the biggest expense on the first series was the yellow t-shirts that you see in the show. That was the thing that cost us the most. And then for the second series, we said, well, look, let's try and make it that we can actually pay people this time, at least something, even just to say it's, we respect your time and it's worth you working on this. So we ran a crowdfunding campaign for the second series for $10,000, which we got, which was great. I mean, it meant we were able to pay people about 10%, I think, of what you would expect to get paid professionally. And, well, that was okay. I think people were kind of pleased to be getting paid something. So, but in terms of marketing, we've never really had a marketing budget. It's always just been sort of me trying to get the attention of different outlets. I mean, there are a lot of blogs out there that do comedy, talk about comedy content or comedy series, and so I just kept hammering away at them and emailing everyone that I could think of, and we got through to a few. I did that much more for the first series than I did for the second one, and possibly because on the second one I was a little bit more burnt out of that whole PR thing. It was just so relentless, and also because that was around the time that Timothy was coming out and things were happening, so I didn't have as much time to sort of send out hundreds of emails to try and get views for our series. But yeah, I mean, really, the reality is if you can find people who work for free, you can make it almost for free. And in terms of marketing it, if you're willing to put in hours upon hours, you can start to get your material out there. You put together your own press release, you try and talk to all these different outlets, and you will, it's just about the hours you put in, really.
Now, you've done 2 series.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be a third? Is it, or are you just going to go and do something else? Or the ABC come Are they going to come and say, hey?
Well, I mean, we are planning to do sort of a limited run of episodes to finish it off, to sort of say, you know, this is kind of it'll be like series 2.5. It wouldn't be quite series 3. But we're thinking about doing that and shooting that this year and then getting it up, you know, later on in the year this year. And we'll probably just do that again like we did the first series, where we just kind of do it for free. Because, you know, I think everybody involved would like to sort of finish it off and see it through and say, you know, look, we made a full series and we had a final episode and we did all of that. It's quite a nice feeling. And we don't really want to go back to the crowdfunding well. You know, the thing about crowdfunding is that you do put a huge amount of effort in. I remember saying that if all the people who worked on the campaign, sort of, you know, spruiking it, had gone out and got part-time jobs and worked the same number of hours in those jobs, we would have had more money. I'm pretty sure. So, you know, it's a pretty big job to do the crowdfunding stuff. So we just thought, well, look, we'll just do it ourselves this time.
So what's the future for yourself then?
I'm working on a couple of different things. I'm developing a series with the ABC at the moment, which has been going for a little while, called Future Boy, which is about a mysterious figure from the future who comes back and kind of disturbs the life of his mother when she's younger. And that's a comedy, so that's kind of I guess a science fiction tinged comedy. And then I've got other things that I'm sort of trying to get around. You know, I'm working on a feature film script, and I'm, you know, still just sort of shopping things around. You know, I was in Sydney today having a few meetings with people that this is that kind of thing in media that you're taking meetings, you know. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking lots of meetings.
Okay. What we'd like to do is say thanks to Tristan for giving you time. We're going to basically close up. But
yep.
We've been watching for a couple of years, and I think you'll get there, and hopefully the clinics will have 2.50,
yeah.
3.0 or whatever. Anyway, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
we're
guys.
We're going to wrap up. Rightio. That's us basically for the evening. I don't know. Do you want to, Mike, to say a few final words from you? And is there any awards or anything juicy that you're going to be doing with a good idea?
Any awards? Well, we've just won 3, so I think we have to wait a couple of months before
Bragging.
No, I think I just want to say thanks for everyone for turning up. I really love online media, and I get really inspired by innovative ways to distribute media, and that really gets me going. So I'd like to, thank everyone who came, and while it is hard to get a market out there, it's not impossible. You just got to have that drive and that perseverance, I guess.
Well, I want to say thank you for coming in. As this, you weren't our first choice. Sorry, no. Thank you for coming in so late. I would like to thank Rod behind the camera with all these gadgets. Hunter TV. They do a great, fantastic job, and he's very good supporting the Lunatics. I want to thank Foghorn, and please do, when we turn the lights off and all that, on or off, just go over to the bar, buy as much beer as possible. I do recommend the Revolution Brown Porter. Don't drink too much because I'm going to have another one. But Lunatics Live will be back in April time. We're just going to do another one. That's going to be on new online or urban infrastructure. I'll have to get it right. But so that'll be late April time. I'd like to thanks to the audience for coming along, and again, so much thanks to James and Sean for allowing us to use Foghorn Brewhouse. So, thank you very much. Have you cut it, Rod? Or am I still live? That's a wrap.